We have Shona Chandler, who is a consultant. She's based here in Sydney, Australia. Her expertise is in communication, project and team management. She's got over 30 years of experience in human resources and cultural change management. Her skills include facilitation, training and development, analysis and strategic design. Her experience includes consulting internationally throughout Asia, India and America, and she's delivered programs and workshops to over 20,000 people. She's worked closely with all levels of management to design and implement strategies and plans and processes and systems. She's worked extensively with the government departments, private sector, not-for-profit organisations and charities, and she has a degree in HR from Sydney University in Technology. Honestly, this woman for me is an extraordinary human being who has a massive impact in the world, and has been for many years a mentor of my own. So it is just with such delight that I'm able to introduce Shona Chandler. Please give her a warm welcome.
Thank you, Kylie. I was fairly impressed with what you just said about me. It didn't sound like me at all, though. Look, I woke up this morning and I said to my daughter, I think I'm just going to tell them the truth. And Celeste said, I don't think they'll believe you. You know, who you are right now has nothing to do with who you were. And I think that that's the piece that I want to share about as far as transformation goes, right? Because for me, that's the piece called I don't look anything like how I was when I began this conversation. So, you know, I kind of stumbled drunkenly into transformation in my 20s. Is actually what happened. In fact, I found myself in the Landmark Forum actually because my sister, who I had had a violent kind of upheaval relationship with, had kind of started being nice to me. And it was really weird. And I was there at this course trying to make sure she hadn't got herself into some kind of weird trouble, you know? And when people talk to me about that time, you know, the victory that I lived with was that I actually spent 3 days in a room with 200 people. That's actually the victory for me. But during that time, and believe me, I sat at the exit, right? The door, the chair very closest to getting out of there at any second. I spent a lot of hours in the toilet avoiding other people, right? But what I got out of the conversation for transformation was just one thing, really. I got the past doesn't equal the future. You know, that's it. I got the past doesn't equal the future. And I had had a pretty revolting past. You know, I had a past which was full of high-risk behavior, being a criminal, fighting with my family, kind of doing whatever job you needed to do to get by, that kind of a past, right? And pretty much all I knew about myself was that I could survive and that I was certainly not going to inflict my life on anyone else. You know, and I discovered transformation. The past didn't equal the future. And what became available was, you know, I suddenly got a future. Like I didn't have to be that. I didn't have to be what I was the sum of. Right? So for me, transformation was really about, oh, if you don't have to be the sum of what you are, what could you be? And the answer is anything. So from then, you know, I'm now 55. My life has been a demonstration of you can be anything, right? And, you know, I'm pretty ordinary. I'm not the smartest person in the room. I'm not the most disciplined. I'm not any of those things. But the one thing I am, and I think that if I was going to leave anyone with what do you need to have a transformed life, is I am courageous, right? I am someone who is afraid, and I'm afraid all the time of stupid stuff. But I can take action in the face of that. And that really is what it takes to live a life of transformation. It takes being courageous every moment. It takes being willing to throw whatever you've got for yourself so far, throw it up and be willing to be unrecognizable to yourself. So my life is a miracle. My life is a miracle. The family that I was estranged from for 25, 26 years, it's ridiculous how close and intertwined we are. Those children that I was never going to have because I was never going to repeat the cycle of abuse, my children are just a gift, right? That living in a caravan next to an open sewer, that was my growing up years. I love my life. I live in Sydney. I live in the eastern suburbs. I have a life. That being on the spectrum, so I could never sit still at school. So therefore, I pretty much failed school. Now has me lecturing at universities. It's freaky crazy, my life. But really, it's a step-by-step moment about confronting that who I am is a function of my word and nothing else, and that the past does not equal the future. So whatever I did doesn't mean I can't have a new future.